Welcome to Coins News Daily. Stop scrolling, you might be sitting on a fortune and not even know it. What if that old quarter in your pocket is worth more than a brand new iPhone? What if a simple penny could secretly be worth thousands of dollars? Tell me in the comments, have you ever found a rare coin? Like, subscribe, comment. Top 1. Today we are diving into a coin that might look ordinary at first glance, something you could easily overlook in your pocket change, but in reality it carries a story, a hidden rarity, and a value that has surprised even experienced collectors. This is the 1991 D Washington quarter, a coin that quietly circulates in everyday life, yet under the right conditions, it becomes a true treasure. Imagine this. You are going through loose change, maybe coins collected over months or years, and suddenly you notice a quarter that feels just slightly different. It is not shinier than the rest, not older looking, but something about it catches your eye. That small D mint mark beneath the date tells you it was struck in Denver. And while millions of these coins were made, only a tiny fraction hold the kind of value we are talking about today. The Washington Quarter series has been a cornerstone of American coinage since 1932. By 1991, the design was already familiar to everyone. The portrait of George Washington on the front, strong and dignified, and the eagle on the reverse, wings spread wide. It was not meant to be rare. It was meant to be used. But sometimes, the most valuable coins are not the ones made to be special. They are the ones that became special by accident. Now let's talk about what makes the 1991 D quarter stand out. First, condition is everything. Most of these coins have been in circulation for decades. They have scratches, worn edges, faded details. But if you come across one that has never really been used, what collectors call mint state, the story changes completely. In high grades, especially those graded MS67 or higher, this coin becomes incredibly desirable. Why? Because surviving in such perfect condition is extremely rare. Coins were not handled with care during production. They were stacked, transported, and distributed in bulk. Tiny imperfections would appear almost immediately. So finding a 1991 D quarter with sharp details, clean surfaces, and strong luster is like finding a needle in a haystack, but condition is only part of the story. Errors are where things get truly exciting. Mint errors turn ordinary coins into extraordinary collectibles. And the 1991 D quarter is known to have several types of errors that collectors hunt for passionately. One of the most fascinating errors is the doubled die. This happens when the coin's design is impressed more than once but slightly misaligned. The result is a visible doubling in the letters or numbers. On a 1991 D quarter, this might appear in the word Liberty or in the date itself. To the naked eye, it may look like a slight shadow, but under magnification, it becomes clear and dramatic. Another error to watch for is the off-center strike. This is exactly what it sounds like. The design is not perfectly centered on the coin. Part of the design might be missing, while a blank area appears on one side. The more off-center the strike, the more valuable the coin can be, especially if the date and mint mark are still visible. There are also coins struck on the wrong planchet. This means the quarter was accidentally struck on a metal blank meant for another coin. These are incredibly rare and highly sought after. The weight, color, and even the sound of the coin can be different. Finding one of these is like discovering a hidden secret of the minting process. Clipped planchets are another type of error that collectors love. These coins have a portion missing from the edge, as if a small bite was taken out of them. This happens during the cutting process when the metal blanks are punched from a sheet. If the sheet is misaligned, the result is a clipped coin, and then there is the issue of die cracks and cuds. Over time, the dies used to strike coins can develop cracks. When this happens, raised lines or blobs of metal appear on the coin's surface. These imperfections tell a story of the die's wear and tear, making each coin unique. Now think about the thrill of the hunt. Every time you receive change, every time you open an old coin jar, there is a possibility, however small, that you might find one of these rare variations. That is what makes coin collecting so addictive. It is not just about money. It is about discovery, history, and the excitement of finding something hidden in plain sight, collectors also pay close attention to luster and strike quality. A well-struck 1991 D quarter will have crisp details in Washington's hair and the eagle's feathers. The surfaces will reflect light in a smooth, almost glowing way. This original mint luster is a key factor in determining value. Grading plays a crucial role as well. Professional grading services evaluate coins based on their condition and assign them a grade. A difference of just 1 point on the grading scale can mean a huge difference in value. That is why collectors carefully examine every detail, from tiny marks to overall eye appeal. The 1991 D quarter may not be the oldest coin, and it may not be made of precious metals like silver or gold, but its value lies in rarity within normalcy. It represents the idea that even modern coins can become valuable if they meet the right conditions. Now let's talk about the real market perspective. Most 1991 D quarters you find in circulation are only worth their face value. But when you step into the world of high-grade specimens and error coins, everything changes. In average circulated condition, the value remains just 25 cents. In uncirculated condition, especially in lower mint state grades, the value can rise to a few dollars. But in high mint state grades such as MS-67, these coins have sold for hundreds of dollars in the collector market. For coins with significant errors like double dies or major off-center strikes, the value can climb even higher depending on the visibility and uniqueness of the error. Some exceptional pieces have reached into the range of several hundred to over $1,000 at auction, and in the rare case of a top-quality specimen with a remarkable error or near-perfect condition, auction records have shown values reaching into the range of several $1,000s. So the next time you see a 1991 D Washington quarter, do not dismiss it as just another coin. Take a closer look. Examine the details. Check for errors. Because hidden within that small piece of metal could be a story, a rarity, and possibly a value far beyond what you ever expected. Top 2. We are diving into a fascinating story hidden in your pocket change, a coin that most people overlook but collectors quietly hunt for with real excitement. The 1988 D Washington quarter. At first glance it looks ordinary, just another quarter you might spend without thinking. But what if I told you that some of these coins are worth far more than 25 cents, and in rare cases, serious money? Stay with me because this is not just about a coin, it is about understanding what makes something ordinary turn extraordinary. The Washington Quarter series has been part of American history since 1932, honoring the first president of the United States. By 1988, millions of quarters were being produced every year, and the Denver Mint, identified by the small d mint mark, struck a huge number of these coins. Because of that, most 1988 D quarters are extremely common. But here is where things start to get interesting. Not all coins are created equal. Even within the same year and mint mark, subtle differences can turn a common coin into a rare collectible. These differences are often the result of minting errors, die varieties, or exceptional condition. And this is exactly where the 1988 D Washington quarter becomes exciting for collectors. Let's talk about condition first. Most coins you find in circulation have been used, scratched, worn, and damaged over time. But if you come across a 1988 D quarter in uncirculated condition, meaning it has never really been used and still retains its original mint luster, it already becomes more desirable. Collectors pay attention to details like shine, sharpness of design, and lack of wear. Now imagine a coin that looks almost perfect, with crisp details on Washington's hair, clean lettering, and a mirror-like surface. These high-grade coins are graded by professionals, and the higher the grade, the higher the value, but condition alone is just one piece of the puzzle. The real magic often lies in mint errors and varieties. One of the most talked about possibilities with 1988 D quarters is die errors. During the minting process, coins are struck using metal dies, and over time, these dies can develop cracks, chips, or misalignments. When that happens, every coin struck with that die carries the same flaw. Collectors look for things like die cracks, which appear as raised lines on the coin, or die chips, which create small bumps or blobs of metal in unexpected places. These might sound like imperfections, but in the world of coin collecting, they can actually increase value because they make the coin unique. Another fascinating possibility is double die errors. This happens when the design is accidentally impressed more than once at slightly different angles, creating a doubling effect. Look closely at the lettering, especially the words Liberty or In God We Trust. If you notice a shadow-like doubling, you might be holding something special. Off-center strikes are another type of error that can make a coin stand out. This is when the coin design is not properly aligned during the strike, causing part of the design to be missing while the rest is shifted. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the more attention it attracts. There are also cases of planchet errors. A planchet is the blank metal disc before it becomes a coin. If something goes wrong at this stage, such as improper metal composition or surface defects, the final coin will carry those unusual traits. Now here is what makes this even more exciting: most people never check their coins closely. They spend them, toss them into jars, or forget about them entirely. That means valuable pieces can remain hidden in everyday circulation for years, just waiting for someone curious enough to take a closer look. So how do you check your 1988 D quarter? Start by examining the mint mark. Make sure the D is clearly visible. Then look at the overall condition. Is the coin shiny or dull? Are the details sharp or worn down? Use good lighting and, if possible, a magnifying glass to inspect the surface. Pay close attention to the lettering and the edges of the design. Look for anything unusual, doubling, cracks, bumps, or misalignment. Even small differences can matter, and remember, patience is key. Coin collecting is not about rushing. It is about observation, curiosity, and the thrill of discovery. Now let's talk about value, the part everyone is waiting for. A typical 1988 D Washington quarter in circulated condition is worth face value, just 25 cents. But in uncirculated condition, especially higher grades, it can be worth a few dollars. If the coin is in near perfect condition with strong luster and minimal marks, its value can rise to around $10 to $20 depending on grading. Now when we enter the realm of professionally graded high mint state coins, the value increases significantly. A top-grade example can reach around $50 to $100, but here is where things get truly exciting. If you find a 1988 D quarter with a clear and recognized mint error, such as a strong double die or a noticeable off-center strike, the value can jump dramatically. Depending on the rarity and visibility of the error, these coins have sold for anywhere between $100 and several $100s, and in rare cases, exceptional error coins or extremely high-grade specimens have reached auction values in the range of several hundred to over $1,000. So the next time you come across a simple quarter, take a moment before you spend it. Look closely. Because hidden in that small piece of metal could be a story, a mistake, a rarity, and maybe even a valuable treasure. Coin collecting is not just about money. It is about history, detail, and the excitement of finding something rare where no one else thought to look, and who knows, your next discovery might already be in your pocket. Top 3. We're diving into a coin that might be sitting quietly in someone's drawer, a coin that looks completely ordinary at first glance but carries a story, mystery, and in some cases, serious value. The 1974 Washington quarter with no mint mark. If you think all quarters are just pocket change, this video is going to change your perspective completely. Imagine holding a small piece of metal that has traveled through decades, passed through countless hands, survived economic shifts, and still holds secrets that collectors are constantly chasing. That's exactly what makes the 1974 Washington quarter so fascinating. It's not just about silver or age. It's about rarity, errors, condition, and the subtle details that only true collectors notice. Let's start with the basics. The Washington quarter design has been around since 1932, created to honor George Washington. By 1974, these quarters were already part of everyday American life. They were made primarily of a copper-nickel-clad composition, not silver, which already makes many people assume they're not worth much. But here's where things get interesting. The 1974 quarter without a mint mark was struck in Philadelphia. At that time, Philadelphia coins typically didn't carry a mint mark, so technically, most 1974 quarters you find will have no mint mark. That sounds common, right? And yes, in general, it is. But within that common category lies a hidden world of rare variations, mint errors, and high-grade specimens that collectors are willing to pay serious money for. Now think about this. Millions upon millions of these coins were produced. But how many survived in perfect or near-perfect condition? Very few. Coins are meant to circulate. They get scratched, worn down, tossed around. So when a 1974 no-mint mark quarter is found in pristine condition, especially with sharp details and original luster, it becomes something special. Collectors use grading systems to evaluate coins, and the difference between an average circulated coin and a high-grade uncirculated coin can be massive in terms of value. A coin graded near perfect, with no visible wear and strong eye appeal, can be worth hundreds or even thousands of times more than its face value, but condition is just one part of the story. Let's talk about errors, because this is where the real excitement begins. Mint errors happen during the coin production process, and they are highly sought after. For the 1974 quarter, some known errors include double die varieties, off-center strikes, and die cracks. A double die error occurs when the coin design is struck more than once slightly misaligned, creating a visible doubling effect on the lettering or numbers. If you look closely at Liberty or the date 1974 and notice a shadow-like doubling, you might be holding something rare. Off-center strikes are another fascinating error. Imagine a coin where the design is not perfectly centered. Part of the coin might be blank while the rest shows the design shifted to one side. The more dramatic the misalignment, the more valuable the coin can be. Die cracks and cuds are also important. Over time, the dies used to strike coins develop cracks. These cracks can transfer onto the coin as raised lines or blobs of metal. While this might look like damage to an untrained eye, collectors recognize it as a unique fingerprint of the minting process. Now here's something that makes collectors really pay attention. Sometimes, coins are struck on the wrong planchet. That means the metal blank used wasn't meant for that coin. For example, a quarter design struck on a smaller or different metal blank can create a rare and valuable error. These are extremely scarce and can command very high prices. Let's also talk about luster and eye appeal. A coin fresh from the mint has a certain shine, almost like a cartwheel effect when you tilt it under light. This original luster fades quickly once the coin enters circulation. So finding a 1974 quarter with strong, original luster is like finding a time capsule. And then there's the human element. Every collector has that dream moment of discovering something valuable in a pile of ordinary coins. That's why coins like the 1974 no-mint mark quarter continue to capture attention. It's not just about the money. It's about the hunt, the history, and the possibility that something extraordinary is hiding in plain sight. You might be wondering, how do you check your own coins? Start by looking at the date and mint mark area. Use a magnifying glass to inspect the details. Check for doubling, unusual marks, or anything that looks different from a normal coin. Pay attention to the edges, the lettering, and the overall condition. Also, avoid cleaning your coins. This is very important. Cleaning can actually reduce the value significantly because it damages the original surface. Collectors prefer coins in their natural state, even if they show some age. Another tip is to store coins properly. If you think you have something special, keep it in a protective holder. Avoid touching the surface directly, as oils from your fingers can affect the coin over time. Now let's build the suspense a little more. Imagine someone finds a 1974 quarter in their pocket change. It looks slightly different. They take a closer look and notice a doubling in the date. They send it for grading, and it comes back as a high-grade double die error. Suddenly, that ordinary coin becomes a prized collectible. Stories like this are not just myths. They happen. And that's what keeps the world of coin collecting alive and exciting. The 1974 Washington quarter without a mint mark represents more than just a piece of currency. It represents opportunity. It represents history. And for those who pay attention to detail, it can represent real value. So next time you get change, don't just toss it aside. Take a closer look. That small, seemingly insignificant coin might have a story waiting to be discovered. And now, let's talk about what everyone is really curious about. The value. A regular circulated 1974 no-mint mark quarter is usually worth its face value of 25 cents. In better uncirculated condition, it can be worth a few dollars. High-grade examples can reach values of several $100s. Rare error coins, depending on the type and condition, have sold for thousands of dollars. Exceptional pieces with strong errors and top grading have reached auction values of over $10,000. Top 4. We are diving into a fascinating story that most people completely overlook every single day. A tiny coin, something you might casually toss into your pocket, ignore in your car cup holder, or even drop without a second thought. But what if I told you that one of these ordinary coins could quietly be worth far more than its face value? Not just a little more, but in some cases, hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on its condition, rarity, and hidden details. In this video, we are exploring the United States Lincoln 1-cent coin from the year 2002 with the D mint mark. At first glance, it looks like just another penny. Copper-colored, familiar portrait, nothing flashy. But beneath that simple appearance lies a world of detail, history, and potential value that collectors are constantly searching for. Let's begin by understanding what makes this coin special. The 2002 D Lincoln cent was minted in Denver, which is why it carries the small letter D beneath the date. Millions of these coins were produced, so you might be wondering how something so common could ever become valuable. That is where things start to get interesting. Not all coins are created equal, even if they come from the same year and mint. Small differences during the minting process can create what collectors call errors and varieties. These are the hidden secrets that transform an ordinary coin into something rare and desirable. One of the first things collectors look for in a 2002 D Lincoln cent is its condition. Coins that have never been circulated, meaning they were never used in everyday transactions, are far more valuable. These are known as mint state coins. They retain their original shine, their surfaces are smooth, and the details are sharp and crisp. Now imagine a 2002 D penny that looks like it was just made yesterday, with no scratches, no dullness, and full original luster. That coin immediately becomes more desirable than one that has been worn down over time. Condition alone can multiply the value many times over, but condition is only part of the story. The real excitement begins when we talk about minting errors. These are mistakes that happen during the production process, and they are incredibly important in the world of coin collecting. One known type of error to watch for is a die crack. This happens when the metal die used to strike the coin develops a crack, leaving a raised line across the surface of the coin. On a 2002 D penny, this might appear as a thin line running across Lincoln's portrait or through the lettering. Another error is doubling, often called double die. This occurs when the coin is struck more than once slightly off alignment, causing the letters or numbers to appear duplicated or shadowed. If you notice doubling on the date or the word Liberty, you could be holding something far more valuable than a regular penny. There are also off-center strikes, where the coin design is not properly aligned during minting. Part of the design might be missing, and this unusual look makes the coin stand out immediately. The more dramatic the misalignment, the more collectors are willing to pay. Then there is the possibility of planchet errors. This happens before the coin is even struck. The blank metal piece might have imperfections, wrong composition, or unusual shapes. When these blanks are turned into coins, they carry those flaws, making each one unique. Another factor that increases the value of a 2002 D Lincoln cent is its color classification. Collectors divide these coins into three main categories based on their color. Brown coins have lost their original shine. Red-brown coins are partially toned. Fully red coins retain their bright original copper color. A fully red 2002 D penny in perfect condition is significantly more valuable than a brown one. That bright red surface indicates minimal exposure to air and handling, preserving the coin almost exactly as it left the mint. Now let's talk about grading. Professional grading services carefully examine coins and assign them a grade based on their condition. This grade can have a huge impact on value. A coin graded at the highest levels, with perfect or near-perfect surfaces, can command impressive prices. Collectors are always searching for coins that stand out from the rest. That means a 2002 Lincoln cent with a strong strike, no marks, vibrant red color, and possibly a unique error becomes a true treasure in the eyes of the collecting community. What makes this even more exciting is the possibility that these coins are still out there. They could be sitting in jars, hidden in drawers, or mixed in with everyday change. Many people simply do not know what to look for, which means opportunities still exist for those who pay attention. Imagine going through your coins and suddenly spotting something unusual. A slight doubling, an odd shape, an unexpected shine. That moment of discovery is what makes coin collecting so addictive and rewarding, and here is something important to remember. Not every 2002 penny is valuable, but the right combination of factors can make a huge difference. Condition, color, errors, and overall eye appeal all come together to determine whether a coin is ordinary or extraordinary. Collectors also value coins that have been preserved carefully over time. Coins stored in protective holders, away from moisture and air, tend to maintain their quality. This preservation can turn a simple coin into a premium collectible years later. As we continue exploring this coin, think about how many pennies you have handled in your life. Thousands, maybe tens of thousands. Yet how often have you truly looked at them closely? The details are always there, waiting to be discovered: the portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the inscriptions, the tiny mint mark. Each part of the coin tells a story. And sometimes, that story includes a rare twist that makes it worth far more than 1 cent. For serious collectors, the thrill is not just in the value, but in the hunt. Searching through rolls of coins, examining each piece under magnification, learning to recognize subtle differences. It is a process that requires patience, knowledge, and a keen eye, and for beginners, the 2002 Lincoln cent is a perfect starting point. It is accessible, affordable, and full of potential. You do not need expensive equipment to begin. Just curiosity and attention to detail. As time passes, coins like these can become harder to find in top condition. Circulation wears them down, and fewer high-quality examples remain available. This gradual reduction increases their desirability among collectors. So the next time you come across a penny, take a closer look. Check the date. Look for the D mint mark. Examine the surface, the color, the details. You might be holding something more special than you realize. Now let's come to the part everyone is waiting for. The value. A regular circulated 2002 Lincoln 1 cent coin is typically worth its face value of 1 cent. Uncirculated examples in average mint state condition can range from a few cents to a few dollars depending on quality. High-grade red examples with strong luster and minimal marks can reach values of $10 to $50 in the collector market. Coins with significant mint errors such as double die or major off-center strikes can sell for hundreds of dollars depending on the severity and uniqueness of the error. Exceptional specimens in near-perfect condition, especially those graded at the highest levels, have been known to achieve auction prices reaching several hundred to over $1,000 in rare cases. This is why every detail matters. This is why collectors keep searching. Because sometimes, the smallest coin can hold the biggest surprise. Top 5. We are diving into a fascinating story that proves something incredible, that even a tiny 1 cent coin sitting quietly in your pocket could secretly be worth far more than its face value. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you might start looking at every single penny in a completely different way. Imagine this. You receive change at a store, you casually drop a few coins into your pocket, and among them is a 1999 Lincoln 1 cent coin with no mint mark. It looks ordinary. It feels ordinary. But hidden within that simplicity could be a detail so rare that collectors are willing to pay serious money for it. Now let's understand what makes the 1999 Lincoln penny so interesting. The Lincoln cent design has been part of American history for over a century. First introduced in 1909, it features the profile of Abraham Lincoln on the front, and for many years it carried the iconic wheat ears on the reverse. By 1999, the reverse design had already transitioned to the Lincoln Memorial, giving us that familiar look most people recognize today. A 1999 penny without a mint mark means it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. For many modern coins, that's completely normal. Philadelphia often produces coins without a mint mark, so at first glance, there's nothing unusual about it. Millions and millions of these coins were made, and most of them are only worth 1 cent, but here's where things get interesting: not all coins are created equal. Even within the same year, same design, and same mint, there can be tiny variations. These variations are what collectors call errors and varieties, and they are the heartbeat of coin collecting. One of the most talked about aspects of the 1999 Lincoln cent is the possibility of striking errors and die varieties. These can include double dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, or even subtle differences in lettering and design alignment. To an untrained eye, these might seem like imperfections. But to a collector, they are treasures. Let's talk about double die errors for a moment. This happens when the coin die is improperly manufactured, causing the design to appear doubled, especially in areas like the date, lettering, or Lincoln's features. On a 1999 penny, a noticeable doubling can instantly elevate its value. Collectors love these because they are rare and visually striking. Another exciting possibility is off-center strikes. Imagine a coin where the design is not perfectly centered. Part of the coin may look blank, while the rest shows a shifted image. Depending on how dramatic the misalignment is, this can turn an ordinary penny into something highly collectible. Die cracks and cuds are also worth mentioning. Over time, the dies used to strike coins can develop cracks. These cracks then transfer onto the coins themselves, creating raised lines or blobs of metal. While some might see this as damage, collectors see it as a unique fingerprint of the minting process. Now let's focus on condition, because condition is everything in the coin world. A 1999 Lincoln cent in worn condition, the kind you typically find in circulation, will almost always be worth just its face value. But when you find one in uncirculated condition, with its original shine and no visible wear, the story changes. Coins are graded on a scale, and the higher the grade, the more valuable the coin becomes. A pristine 1999 penny, especially one with a strong strike and clean surfaces, can attract attention from collectors who are building high-quality sets. Add an error or variety on top of that, and you're looking at something much more special. There's also the factor of copper composition. By 1999, Lincoln cents were no longer made primarily of copper. Instead, they were composed mostly of zinc with a thin copper plating. This makes them lighter and more prone to certain types of damage, like bubbling or peeling. However, if a coin somehow has an unusual composition or appears different in weight or color, that could be another clue that it's something rare. Collectors often spend hours examining coins under magnification, searching for these tiny details. It's like a treasure hunt where the prize could be hiding in plain sight. And here's something important to remember. Rarity doesn't always come from low mintage. Sometimes it comes from how few coins survived in excellent condition, or how rare a specific error is. That's why even a common year like 1999 can produce coins that are highly sought after. Now imagine being the person who discovers one of these rare variations. You start with a simple penny, you notice something unusual, you do your research, and suddenly you realize you're holding a coin that collectors are actively looking for. That moment of discovery is what makes coin collecting so addictive and exciting. If you're serious about checking your 1999 pennies, here's what you should do. First, look closely at the date and lettering. Check for any signs of doubling or unusual spacing. Next, examine the overall alignment of the design. Is it perfectly centered, or slightly off? Then, inspect the surface for cracks, raised lines, or unusual textures. Finally, consider the coin's condition. Does it still have its original luster, or has it been worn down over time? Using a magnifying glass or a coin microscope can make a huge difference. Many of the most valuable details are too small to see with the naked eye, and now, the moment you've been waiting for. Let's talk about value. A typical 1999 Lincoln 1-cent coin with no mint mark, in circulated condition, is worth exactly 1 cent. In uncirculated condition, it can be worth a few cents to a few dollars depending on its quality. However, if you find a high-grade example with exceptional preservation, it can sell for around $10 to $20 in the collector market. If the coin features a noticeable error such as a double die or a strong off-center strike, the value can rise significantly, ranging from $50 to several $100s depending on the severity and rarity of the error. In rare auction cases, a top grade 1999 Lincoln cent with a major error and near-perfect condition has reached values of several $100s, and in exceptional situations, even close to $1,000. So next time you come across a simple penny, don't ignore it. Take a closer look. Because hidden within that small piece of metal could be a story, a rarity, and maybe even a surprising amount of value waiting to be discovered.